Let's foray into Nevada's wild spaces. This is a half-an-hour adventure with the Nevada Department of Wildlife. This is Nevada Wild.
Here on this mountain top, I got some wild, wild life. Wow. I got some news to tell about some wild, wild life.
Welcome to Nevada Wild, brought to you by the Nevada Department of Wildlife. I'm your host, Aaron Keller, joined by co-host Bobby Jones. And we have a special guest in the office, Karl Lackey. He is a game biologist with the department, but we've been sitting here for, 15, 20 minutes trying to nail down Karl's title. And he kind of has some specialty stuff baked into his position. Karl has been a game biologist with the department for a long time and is now approaching retirement. And we wanted to catch him one time before he went out the door just to kind of talk about some old stories and where his career has come from and is going and all the different things. And so thanks for coming in, Karl.
Thank you, guys.
And we kind of just want to start off with how did you start with the department?
I started right here at Valley Road back in 1993 at the boat desk here at Valley Road. Did that for a year, and then got a job out at Kirch Wildlife Management Area. Went out there for 2 years, and then I took this current position in November, December of 1996. So coming up on 30 years in this position.
And when did you know that you wanted to work for the Department of Wildlife?
Long before that, I did some volunteer stuff. Way back when for Rick Schweitzer, who did all the porcupine stuff up in the granites. Myself and Sean Shea volunteered with Rick, and when we were done with that project, Rick put my name in the hat for a seasonal job with NDOW. I remember when George Tsukamoto's office was right down here. I went into George's office, and they were looking for a seasonal to go out and monitor collared bighorn sheep that had been recently reintroduced. So I did that for, I think that was a 9-month, strictly a seasonal job back in 1990.
Mm-hmm. And was that a dream job at that point?
It was, yeah, looking back on it. I mean, at the time I was just like, okay, I need something full-time. But it was fun. I went up to monitored sheep up in the Calicos there. North of the Black Rock. I did some for Jim Jeffers over in Humboldt County, and at the time Craig Mortimer was the Yarrington biologist, and I monitored some sheep down there for him.
And then you just kind of stuck around and just hung, just kept your nose in the office and until a job came open, or how did that work out?
Yeah, just constantly applying and looking for jobs. I worked for it was USGS.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, Gary Scapatoni. I was doing native fish stuff, but it was very temporary. I don't think I worked there for a full year, and just did oddball stuff. I was a bartender for a while at the Pepper Mill, and eventually got the Valley Road job in 1993, October of 93.
And you were talking about it a little bit before we jumped on, but what was the vision for that job when you first got it, the one you've been in for the last 30 years?
When I started this position, it was an urban wildlife conflict type position, answering calls about raccoons or skunks and critters like that. Mm-hmm. Bears were so uncommon then that it was still a real cool thing to see a bear. I remember my first vehicle bear mortality. Several NHP people or deputy sheriffs were coming by to see the bear because no one had seen one, and it was a thing. Walt Mandeville, who had the job, technically the bear responsibility before me. I think he had trapped like 6 bears in 1996, and didn't tag any of them, didn't mark any of them, just moved them. We know now that chances are a majority of them came right back to Tahoe area.
Hmm.
But yeah, I started trapping bears in 1997. 3 or 4 bears here and there, not very many. And then in 1998, I got approval to start tagging bears so we could monitor them and monitor our the results.
Yeah, so you were taking the bears and moving them, or just kind of dealing with the conflict that was happening at the time, and then you started tagging them. And was it for just because you thought that it might be the same bear that was coming back, or like what was the impetus of like tagging them at that point?
Well, Jim Jeffers had taught me a long time ago, to collect data on every single animal you grab, every single animal you have your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And by marking them, it would allow us to gauge our mitigation efforts. Okay, if we move this bear, if it comes back, we won't know that unless it's marked in some way. And it also will help to establish some sort of a population estimate.
Right.
If we're marking bears and then recapturing them. So I did ear notches on the first few bears that I captured in 1997. And then in 1998, I got approval to start putting ear tags in.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1999, we started collaring bears with the cooperative study with the University of Nevada.
That's interesting how it just started from nothing.
Yeah, and I'm still stuck on the NHP. Everybody's coming to see the bear that got hit by a car because nobody ever sees bears. And then trying to think now, like, I mean, how many calls do you get a year?
Oh, well, 2 years ago, we were in that 1,500 range.
Yeah. With just the context of, like, not that much time, but unheard of to over 1,000 calls. That's some change.
Yeah, we've, in our database now, of course, the bears that I put ear notches in 1997 are in that database.
Mm-hmm.
But we're up to almost just shy of 1,500 individual bears in the database. Individual bears.
That's wild.
I'm hoping to hit 1,500 in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, you said that there was quite a few this weekend, so. And then, so that database, then it started in way back, and then what is it used for? Like, how do we kind of tap into that information?
Yeah, we've used that database. The mark recapture, obviously, has been used for all our population estimates over the years. And there's certain parts of the database that, we collect hair and blood for genetics. We've been doing that since 1998 as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've done some genetic studies with the blood and the hair, looking at just this phenomenon of bears were historically in Nevada, then they were extirpated by the late 1800s, and then they started to repopulate a lot of these areas in the probably around late 1970s. And then since then, just slowly their population numbers have slowly started to increase. They started to move back into those geographic areas. And of course, there was a population explosion starting right when I started this position, about the mid-1990s.
Mm-hmm. And before we started recording, you mentioned somebody's name, and I remember the name, but can you give us some context to who that was?
John Beckman. I met John over a barbecue in 1999, and I had been putting in for grants to do bear research, to put collars on bears, just for this purpose, again, for monitoring our efforts. And I couldn't get those proposals approved, and then all of a sudden San Stiver called me up, and San Stiver was one of our staff biologists at the time, and said, hey, I've got this guy in my office who has been going to UNR for the last year, and he's got $250,000 dedicated to bear and mountain lion research. Are you interested? So I said, heck yeah, it's what I've been looking for. And so I met John. He came over to my house for a barbecue, and we started talking and hit it off. And we've been doing collaborative research on bears ever since.
That's a cool story.
That is a cool story. And he's still around. You guys are still working together.
He's still around. He when he graduated, when he got his PhD at UNR, he went on to work for Wildlife Conservation Society. Worked there for several years, and then most recently he's with Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks.
Oh, really?
See, and I know you're full of stories, Carl, but was there a research project that you got the most out of, or most enjoyable, or things that you learned that you never expected that really kind of set the tone for the rest of your career?
Well, the research that we did was one of the first comparative studies in the U.S. between urban bears and wildland bears, and looking at the demographics, differences in denning behavior, physical differences like the age structure and the up in the urban areas, or the fact that the urban bears were 25% heavier than wildland bears all the time, things like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I can't help but think that when you said there's 1,500 bears in the database, like, are there any stories that stick out or anything like that? I've heard rumors of certain bears that are like huge, right? Just real massive bears, and bears that have had some funny stomach contents and things like that. But is there anything that like stands out to you thinking back all those years of handling the bears? Or I've seen the like pictures of you probably with Beckman with like the cubs and things like that. But is there anything that stands out to you?
We had a bear. I call him the Jägermeister bear. I got a call to a little ranch type thing in Gardnerville, and the guy said, "Hey, there's a bear stuck in our bathroom." That's what the call came in as. When I got out there, it was an outdoor barn that they used for like youth groups and stuff. And so it was an open barn at both ends, big breezeway, and they had a refrigerator in there. And again, way back then, people didn't even know what they had never seen a bear, let alone did they know what a bear-proof garbage container was. Just wasn't a thing. So they had their refrigerator in this breezeway, and a bear had come in, opened the fridge. There was a bottle of Jägermeister in there, and he had dropped it, smashed it, and then licked up all the Jägermeister, walked across the breezeway to the men's bathroom, and it was just a little single-seater. But he had got into the bathroom and somehow shut the door behind him, and there was a file cabinet, and he had knocked that down in front of the door, so he couldn't even open it. Well, these people noticed it when they walked out there, and there was water coming out of the bathroom. So in the process of trying to escape, the bear had ripped the toilet off the wall, ripped the sink off the wall, busted the pipes, was flooding the outside, and the bear was still inside. So you could open the door, about an inch, just enough to see a bear's nose sticking out. So we knew it was a bear, a good-sized bear. The guy ended up going and getting his chainsaw, and we didn't want to just cut the door in half because then the bear would come out on top of you. So he cut a little 4-inch square in the door, big enough for where I could stick the dart gun in there and immobilize the bear. And when he was out, we cut the rest of the door off and pulled him out and tagged him and released him, put a collar on him.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Was it a big bear or a little bear? Or how?
It was medium. Yeah, I want to say
normal size.
Yeah, 250, 300 pounds, which, for some parts of the U.S., that's a really big bear. For us, that's medium size. We get so many bears that are in that 400-pound plus category.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm laughing in my head trying to figure out if there's 1,500 individual bears in the system, how many of them has Carl handled? Over 1,000 for sure.
Yeah, most.
Yeah, well, 1,500 individual bears, and then, some of those bears we've handled multiple times. So
yeah.
Yep. And then the white snake bear. I'll call it the white snake bear. This is a long time ago, 20 some odd years ago, but we got a call about a bear I talked to the manager of this guy, and he said, "Hey, my boss is really private, but he had a bear in his house. We'd like you to come up and see what can be done." So I got up there, and he took me inside the house, and there was rock and roll posters all over the place. So I was like, "Well, who is this guy?" And he took me downstairs and explained the bear had come in through a window, bedroom window. They have an indoor swimming pool, so the bear had gone into the swimming pool, swum around, and then came walking down the hallway toward his recording studio. Walked right by his son, who was sitting there playing video games in his bedroom, dripping wet, walked right down there, and David, this is the White Snake, David Coverdale, came walking out of the recording studio, saw the bear, yelled, the bear went back out the way he came in. So we ended up setting a trap, and I don't know, a couple days later, I had yet to meet him. I just met his manager. A couple days later, he called me and said, "Hey, there's a bear in the trap, but it's not the right one. This one's brown, and the one that I saw was black." And so I said, "All right." So I got up there, and before we went to deal with the bear, he said, "Hey," he says, "have you ever had tea with an English rock star?" I said, "No, it has not been on the list." So he took me inside. It was just the two of us, and he made me a cup of tea, and we sat down and we had a cup of tea, and that was the coolest thing ever. And I still didn't know who he was. I knew he was somebody, rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
But he hadn't told me his full name. I still didn't know. And what was really cool is we went out to work on the bear that was in the trap. And I always like to get people involved, the homeowners, whatever. I have them help me take the temperature, tag the bear, pull the hair, doing whatever. And every few minutes, we'd be in the process of, and I say, "David, you want to put the tag in?" And he'd say, "Yeah." And then he'd go, "Carl, I'll be right back." And he'd disappear for a few minutes, and then he'd come back. And we'd do a little bit more, and he'd go, "Carl, I got to go. I'll be right back." It's like, I don't know what this guy's doing. But we ended up, finishing the bear, turned it loose, and I remember a few days later, he had mentioned his blog on his White Snake website. He mentioned something about the bear blog, and I better go check that out. And on his blog, it was like, "Carl and I are processing this bear, and he's going to have me tag it. I'll be right back." And then he'd go out and help me, and he'd come back in. He goes, "I just tagged the bear, and we had to take the temperature, and now we're going to do this to it. I'll be right back." And then he'd go back out to me. It was kind of funny.
That's awesome.
Play-by-play.
Yeah, the play-by-play.
Yeah.
Forever.
But nicest guy, him and his wife, just nicest people ever. Show up, and she'd give me a big old hug and say, "How you doing?" And ended up trapping 2 or 3 bears at their place over a couple year period.
Mm.
So it was cool.
Yeah, no, and we didn't touch on it yet. Exactly what goes into processing a bear, but also the one of the stars of the show we haven't even touched on.
Oh yeah, special guest.
Right.
Banjo.
Yeah.
Banjo.
We better let you pitch us on exactly what that part of the program's all about. It's one of the coolest things.
Well, Banjo is sitting right next to me. He's a Karelian bear dog. I've had 4 of them. Nevada was one of the first state agencies outside of Montana to start working with Karelian bear dogs. And I got my first Karelian back in 2001. That was Stryker. And I bred him and his son Rooster a couple times, handful of times. And ended up selling 2 of those bear dogs to the state of Washington for their bear program, and a couple to Alaska, and a couple of Rooster's offspring even went to Japan. And they are working on Asiatic black bear conflicts in Japan, them and their offspring. So that's been a very rewarding part of the program, or part of my career is having the Karelian bear dogs. They're a breed, and you can look them up. It's Karelia, starting with a K, named after the Karelia province in Finland. They were originally bred to hunt brown bears and other big game in Russia and Finland. but we've been using them over here in the U.S. Carrie Hunt with the Wind River Bear Institute, I think, started bringing them over here and working with them in 1997. She was the first. And anyway, they're used primarily for hazing purposes, tracking and hazing. So when we do our releases, when a bear comes out of the trap, we let the dogs chase it. Banjo loves, give them a little nip in the butt before they climb a tree. And it's all designed from our perspective to give the bears a really bad experience around people rather than that positive food reward based experience that they're used to getting. Nothing else bites a bear except another bear and a bear dog.
Yeah. And how much how rewarding has it been to have the dogs throughout the years?
It's been super rewarding. He goes with me everywhere, even when I'm not working. He's with me.
Mm-hmm.
People describe him as another tool, but they're a lot more than that. They're your best buddy, sitting in the back seat. When we have to go in and clear houses, when we get a call in the middle of the night, a bear inside a house, and the sheriff's department is waiting for us to get there before they go in. We'll take the dogs in with us and clear the house. Stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
How different have the dogs been individually between the 4 dogs you've had? Are they all very similar, or are they all different?
They're all different.
Are they?
Banjo is by far the best bear dog I've ever had.
Huh.
Striker was good. And I don't know if it's just a learning process or not, but Rooster was better. Just a little more, and I don't want to say aggressive because they don't want to hurt the bear. But he was much more apt to get right in the bear's face and bark and not back down. Dazzle, who is the most famous of my bear dogs, she's been on international magazines and got an awesome picture of her taken by J.T. Humphreys of her running alongside a really big black-colored black bear.
Yeah, probably one of the cooler photos that you'll ever see for that type of stuff.
Yep, but she was not anywhere near as prey-driven as Banjo or Rooster. She'd just as soon be out chasing butterflies as bears,
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think about clearing the house part. I always thought of them on the release, but I guess if it's in somebody's house and you just need to get it out,
well,
then that makes total sense now.
Well, that's the other thing is the funny places that you find bears. I mean, you're gonna be able to give us a few stories, but the places that the bears end up getting to, locked themselves in a bathroom, in an outdoor barn, but I mean,
right,
porches, houses. I mean, you name it. I'm sure you've been there.
Yeah, I've got a great picture of a bear had busted the window of a second floor condominium. And sticking his head out of the window, looking at us before we darted him, and he went back inside. But yeah, they're very, very persistent. They can get into anything, and just very food driven. So
yeah, peeling off car doors like it's nothing. That's the stuff I think about. Right, is
you've seen some of those videos.
You just don't. It's hard to wrap your mind around what they are.
They're so
what
strong,
they can do.
and so athletic. Very nimble, very quick. I remember when I was a seasonal back in early 2000s, coming to Valley Road, and a bear was in one of the traps, and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's a bear in the trap. Go check it out." And I went up to the bars on the front, and that thing went from the other side of the trap to my side of the trap faster than you can blink.
Faster than you were ready for.
Faster than you can blink. It's so fast.
Yep.
Crazy. So.
And super powerful. And again, that type of behavior people see a lot. That's just stress-related behavior. The bear's just saying, back off.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I just was naive to the whole thing, and so looking back, Carl, is there any other people that you worked with that you want to shout out, or any volunteers that you had come out and help you on all your different projects or anything like that kind of comes to mind?
Well, there's lots and lots of people. I guess that's been one of the most rewarding things about the job is getting people involved, in getting people to help with bears. I still have people to this day and now they're adults that describe their parents and them helping with a bear when they were little. They still have those photos and they still think about it, and they're very appreciative. So that's been the best part. So there's been hundreds of people, but John Beckman for sure, Craig Mortimer, Mike Doble, both my supervisors in the early days when the program was just beginning. Craig and I wrote the very first policy for dealing with human bear conflicts in the state. That's how new it was then. So and then of course past co-workers, Heather Reich. I think she started around 2014, something like that. Helped me with bears. A second person to take some of that load off. And of course Becca Carnelio, she's took Heather's position, and she's been with us now for a little over 3 years. But yeah, I mean, all the Ken Mayer, past director, was just awesome. I think he was kind of he was the director when we started talking about hunting bears in the state.
Right.
So, yeah, instrumental in that whole process.
Yeah, I just think back to all the different people and in my position back in like the mid 2000s, I guess, was I got to see your face on the news and all the different things through my old supervisor, Chris Healy. He would always love coming out and taking photos and videos of the bear releases and things like that. And just lots of good stories and successful releases back into different parts of the mountains, I guess.
Well, Chris was the other one that just instrumental in getting our story out there, our narrative, right? Getting the facts out there on bears. I don't know how many times he'd interviewed me, but way back when, the media was our that was our olive branch, so to speak, to the public. Chris got the media, of course, his contacts with the media, having been in the news business, he knew everybody, and he would get those people out when we're processing bears and then when we were releasing bears. And so the public saw the whole program, and we were able to talk to people basically face to face, right? This is why the bears are in your neighborhood, and this is what you can do about it. And Chris was the one that paved the way for all the ordinances, the county ordinances on bear-resistant garbage cans. Without the media contacts and without the media blitz, so to speak, that happened for that first 10 or 15 years, we wouldn't have the ordinances, but we wouldn't have the public awareness that we have now.
Right.
Well, and everybody loves bears, right? And I just feel like when you were talking earlier, the bear-resistant trash cans weren't a thing. They weren't a thing anywhere. And now you've got entire neighborhoods full of them where that's just the way it is, and you're kind of out of line if you're not, trying to do the best you can for the bears.
Yeah, I mean, again, back when you go up to Tahoe to some of these gift shops and stuff, and you didn't see bears. You didn't see bears on coffee cups or any of that, let alone you didn't really see bears, chainsaw carved bears on porches. And now that kind of stuff's everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere. So people have become a lot more aware.
I feel like that's almost like a Tahoe staple now, with bears, associated with bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ordinances and all the different regulations and stuff that came out were very necessary and are nothing but good now. It is funny to think like certain parts of Reno or where where we live are seeing bears, right? And bears are coming down into Reno, and every time we hear of a bear, it's a surprise to that person, but it doesn't seem like it's a surprise to you or to anybody that's worked with bears before.
No, it's as the bear population expanded, and as people in, let's say, the Tahoe Basin started being more responsible with their trash and other attractants, that population of bears has moved, over the hill, and now they're down in the urban areas. I mean, I've been capturing bears in Southwest Reno for 25 years.
Right.
They've been here. But yes, and regardless of how much messaging you put out there, and public education, there's always somebody that says, well, I didn't know we had bears.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it from a bear's perspective, let's say that whole Thomas Creek, Arrow Creek area, when it was just sagebrush, it supported 1 or 2 bears in the drainages, where there was bear food. Now you look at it, and there's thousands of garbage cans, most of them unsecured, thousands of fruit trees, tens of thousands of bird feeders. That's all bear food. From a bear's point of view, that is prime habitat now compared to the higher elevations, atypical bear habitat, what most people think of.
Mm-hmm.
They can make a living. A lot more bears can make a living, a really good living down in our neighborhoods, unfortunately.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've set traps where I grew up over off of Mayberry. We didn't even hear of bears when I was in high school.
Right. Yeah, I just had somebody ask me. They showed me a picture of bear scat, and they're like, "What do you think this is?" I said, "Oh, it's a bear." No. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely.
Check your ring camera.
That's definitely a bear. So, how do you feel leaving the department or retiring from the department?
More than ready.
Yeah.
Not because it hasn't been a great place to work, but I'm just ready. I'm ready to, hand off this stuff to people like Becca. I'm just ready to move on.
Yeah.
I want to come out and volunteer. Especially with Banjo. He's only 9 years old. He turned 9 on the 4th, and he's got at least 2 or 3 more good years in him.
Mm-hmm.
So come out and get him on doing some releases, and I'll miss a lot of the people I've worked with for decades. So I'll miss some of that, but there just comes a point where you're just ready to hand over the reins to somebody else.
Yeah, you don't want to work forever, that's for sure.
Nope.
Even though it feels like your job is kind of a very cool job to have as far as a career, for sure.
Yep. It's I got told a lot earlier on that I had people describe it as some of the best job in the agency, because I was trapping bears, I was catching mountain lions, and I was using explosives to clear waterways. It's like, it doesn't get better than that.
Well, they might not have been wrong.
Right. Yeah, and I personally want to thank you. You've been a hunter education instructor for the hunter education program for, I don't know, 20 plus years.
30 plus now.
Yeah, 30 plus years, and yeah, that's just volunteer work. So, yeah, that's just on the side, on top of all the other things. So, appreciate that. Thank you for that.
That's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, one last tidbit is I had a buddy. He had a bear, and he said, "Hey, what should I do?" And I said, "Well, we'll get you in touch with the right guy, and there's a guy in the department strictly deals with bears." He's like, "Oh, is it Carl?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Carl. Why do you say that?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah. Somebody said if you need to talk about bears, just call Carl." And it was like this personal hotline to call Carl. Don't worry about like calling the department 688 number. Just call Carl. He'll come take care of you.
I feel sorry for the person that takes my place, and if they give him my cell phone, they'll be getting calls on bears in the middle of the night for the next 10 years for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's been it just gone by so quick too. The last 30 years has just flown by.
Yeah, we've done a couple of these retirement type podcasts, and everybody kind of says the same thing. Like, it feels like it went by so fast. And but you think back on all those memories, and it's probably a joy.
Yep.
That's a full career. 33 years. 30 years in the same job. That's cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. Been a lot of fun, especially with the bear dogs. It's just, he's right here, and like I said, goes to work with me every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate all you've done for the department and the Bears across Nevada, and very successful career, and look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Thanks, guys.
And that does it for this week's Nevada Wild. Thank you all for listening.
Join us again next week for our next adventure, Nevada Wild. It's a production of the Nevada Department of Wildlife.